Recording. Hello, guys. Welcome to music podcast Rewinding from Montenegro. I gotta ask you first, how are you in this quarantine virus time?
Now, should we answer one at a time or all at the same time?
You can, whatever you want.
All at the same time, then.
Yeah.
Ready?
Ready?
2, 3,
Go.
go.
I'm
Go.
wearing this because, like, you know, we've got to struggle for survival at the minute, and we just don't know what the fuck's going on. We don't know when this thing's going to go away. So, you know, it's all down to the crews and the bands and everything. It's like, I don't know what the hell's going on. So, I haven't had any sniffles or sneezes or anything up my nose or that, like, so I'm okay, you know, but, you know, you just don't want to get it, do you?
It's obviously that you're in chaos, but...
Next question.
Next question. I know you answered this a lot of times, but people who don't know why you changed name from Venom to Venom Inc.
I mean, originally, and you know, personally, me, I was dead set against anything to do with Venom, and you know, we had this name called Iron and Steel, but it then, you know, it was promoters, it was fans, it was agents, it was everybody who was just going, Venom, Venom, it's Venom, Venom. So Tony came up with the Inc, Venom Incorporate, so we rolled with that, and then, you know, the ink got missed off every now and again, and people were saying it's just Venom, it's Venom, whatever. And hey, you know, as far as I'm concerned, people make their own minds up. You know, I mean, Kronos is out there doing his own thing. I don't give a shit what he's doing. I don't give a shit what Abaddon's doing. We're doing what we're doing, and never the twain shall meet. So, you know, it's all good at the end of the day. And if people are turning around and saying, like, you know, we embody the true spirit of the original band, then, hey, that's great. But we've never once come out and said that. We've never said this is the epic lineup of fucking Venom, as it is on somebody else's website. We've never once said that. And even me as a fucking founder member, I'll never even say that. It's down to the fans. It's down to whoever sees us live. If somebody comes and stands in front of us and goes, that was fucking shit, then great. That's your opinion. Off your trot. It's like, but, you know, the majority of people who have come to see us, the vast majority have walked away going, fucking hell. Because so far in 5 years, we haven't relied on a pyrotechnic, a fucking hydraulic, a fucking fancy light show or anything. We've turned up. We haven't even used our own fucking equipment. You know, I've turned up and fucking requested a Marshall JCM 900. I plug straight in the front of that. I've got an overdrive and a chorus because that's all it'll fit into my fucking guitar case to get on EasyJet. And that's the way it's been. It's been just stripped down rock and roll. We're a band. We're not a fucking stage show. So, but give us a fucking stage show and we'll blow your fucking head off.
Yeah,
next,
every night. The boat
Tony will
play that.
Okay. Sorry, I was just gonna say every night on stage, Tony will say just whatever. It doesn't matter which incarnation of Venom that you like. Just close your eyes, and if the music moves you, then so be it. And that's all that anybody could hope for. Whether it's Conrad, whether it's fucking Janie Lane, it doesn't matter who it is. If the music moves you, then cool, perfect. Then mission success. If not, then like Jeff said, on your bike.
Yeah, that's it. At the end of the day, it's you know, I even said this to Jeff myself. You know, is like 1,000 years ago you write a song, and then 1,000 years later, you know, it becomes the fans' music. You know, to be absolutely honest. You know, Jeff doesn't listen to black metal, the album, every day, or Welcome to Hell, or, you know, A War with Satan or Possessed from the classic era. I certainly don't listen to Primeval album every day or anything else. And as a musician, you don't do that. As a fan, that's something very different because, you know, I would play Ace of Spades, the album, probably 1,000 times, but I know that Lemmy didn't play it once, because he recorded it and he would play it live, but he didn't listen to the album, and that's the difference. And it kind of becomes a transition. The music is your music, but it becomes the fans' music. And if you think 20, 30 years in the distance, it's their music. And we've never gone out and dictated what we play to fans, ever. From the minute we began Empire of Evil through Venom Inc., we've never dictated what we're going to play. We've asked the fans, what do you want us to play? What do you want to hear? And they tell us. So for all those distractors that say that we're doing this or we're doing that, it's all bullshit. You know, you have a guy who wrote a whole bunch of songs. Of course, I'm including that from the classic era Venom through, you know, a man who made the band, which was Mantas, and wrote those classic songs, through to myself and now to Jeramie too with War Machine. And we play songs that we love, that were written by these, all of us, one of us, two of us, but we play songs we love. We play songs that fans love, and we play it to them. If it gets you, it gets you. If it doesn't get you, it doesn't have to get you. But it's about the music at the end of the day. The fans own the music. And if a fan says to us, you know, which myself and Jeff have always held in high esteem, if a fan goes, please play Live Like an Angel, which in our Countess Battery, we just done it. We played it so they can hear it, and they lose their mind over it. And just because somebody who used to be in a band or somebody who's doing something else thinks that's wrong, it's not about what they think. It's about what the fans want. And like Jeramie just said very eloquently, if you close your eyes and the music makes you move, then that's it. You know, all those albums you ever loved that are your favorite albums, you were never in the studio with those guys. You never toured with those guys, and you went in that band. It was the music in your bedroom, listening to that music, that made you love it. And that's what the same thing with us is about. It's about, we play from our hearts. When we play, we mean it. And that's all there is. The purity of music is just the musician and the connection through the music to the fans. And that's what we pride ourselves on. And regardless of what anybody says about us in any other way, that's all we are. We're just us and the music. And like Jeff just said there, you could see us with no pyro. We don't have any gimmicks. We don't have any bullshit. There could just be the three of us in some dirty little club or pub in the north end of Guatemala, and we'd give you the same as if we were on stage at Wacken with pyros and set and everything else. And that's the beauty of us. It's the music, which is real. And
Right,
that's me.
but it's when we speak about this, I also want to ask, legally, is it right? You can do it also, and to play songs.
All of it is completely illegal. What we do is illegal. The police and the government in 3 countries, because we live in 3 different countries, have all told us it's absolutely illegal what we do, and we still do it because we're illegal. And that's the truth.
Okay.
Anyway, proper question. Someone else can answer that because I'm illegal.
Yeah, no cops. No cops. It's all good. The INC is enough to separate it. And yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, your question was legally, can we?
Yeah, plus the 80s version of Venom did a lot of like real interesting stuff when it came to business. So nothing was ever truly nailed down from what I've gathered. Like, it's not anyone's real ownership, which is a pretty interesting spot to be in. So so we can all play those songs and play them live, and especially Jeff. Well, for me, he's down here. Jeff writing so many of those. Oh, he's up there. He's up there now. Oh shit, he's behind me now.
Yeah, I wouldn't trust him. I wouldn't trust where he goes. He's so small around the whole frame. He has them anyway.
Especially, Jeff being a main songwriter. I mean, it's up to some weird legal battle that nobody has money for and time for, and again, it just comes back to fans. I mean, like, I've had the opportunity to play in South America and see grown men that are well into their 40s and 50s crying because they got to hear Witching Hour live, and they've never even been close enough to the band for anything. So the fact that we showed up, played at their modest club, so I mean 700 to 1,000 cap, and we played there, and they were coming up to us afterwards, full tears. I mean, full regale. It was all out, and they were like, I want to see you guys I can't believe. It was like, it was pretty amazing. And then you go, wow, man, fuck yeah. I mean, I don't have to be Abaddon to get up there and give that feeling to you, you know? I mean, fuck yeah. I mean,
you wouldn't be getting up there if you were.
Well, I mean,
you're on a fucking first flight home, pal.
But yeah, you know, so it's legal. I mean, it's fine.
I mean, when we speak about these things, we always think, I think about music industry and all that shit with contracts, with, you know, who owns the albums and that stuff to play that live. And you were and are big band, so it's a bit confusing to have even on YouTube 2 Venoms. But last 5 years, you go through some serious stuff. You made album, you have one clinical death, Corona is here, 3 continents, you're living and playing, nothing can stop you.
No, you know, that's the thing. We're not, as the 3 of us, as musicians and as people, is we have very varied experiences and also joint experiences. But the one thing that this band is musicians. We think that, we eat it, this is what we are. Beyond everything else, this is what we do. And so, you know, the COVID thing and the lockdown, of course, it's terrible. It's very hard for everybody. But each one of us has been non-stop. We're doing the new album right now. We're just waiting for me to do the vocals, but COVID keeps blocking travel and stuff. And okay, but we've got around it. And so far we produced towards the new album. But we've been individually working non-stop on music in all of our guises. And I think that's the difference, you know. Some people are in bands, and I've said this before many times, and Jeff will fall asleep as I say it again. But some people are just people in bands, and other people are musicians. And the one thing that I've always loved, about Mantas is he saw himself as being a guy in a band, but I always saw him as a musician. And when he did his solo stuff in the 80s and then again in the 2000s, and the stuff he did with Scooter and everything he did with Stagnation, with a friend of ours, you know, it was like, that's what I loved about him, is he just wanted to play music. And when he plays guitar, he loses himself. And all of his heroes, I saw that in him, and that's what I love. That's what I love. I just want to play music. If it's jazz, it's blues, I don't care as long as I'm playing. And the beautiful thing about Jeramie Kling is he's exactly the same. He just wants to play music. He wants to express himself. If it's as a singer or guitar or drummer, he just wants to play it. And that's the difference between us and everybody else, is if you take that person out of their band, they can't survive. They are that band. That is their whole thing, that band. That's their identity. But for us, it's not. It's like when we come together, it's the most incredible thing. But we can survive doing other stuff. It's just bringing that whole chemical mix into this thing is amazing. And that's the difference. So lockdown, no lockdown, it doesn't stop a creative person being creative. It just means we, for example, on the album, we had a bit more time. There's no pressure. We can't play any shows to promote the new album. So, okay, all we can do is go by the rules. And if we can't travel and we can't fit, then it takes a bit longer. So, but then it gives us time to be even more creative, to look even deeper into the material, to get even more out of what we could do if we had restrictions and we had pressure from a label. Unfortunately for us, with Nuclear Blast, they understand the situation, of course, at the minute, but also they don't pressure us, because they know if they allow us the breathing space to be totally ourselves, they get the best we can possibly give. And that's what I've always loved about, of course, about music, but working with Jeff in particular, is because, you know, we try and push ourselves to be the best we can possibly be at that moment. And that's what's so exciting, and that's what's so wonderful about it. And to, you know, with Abaddon before, or you know, we had restrictions. You know, he was limited, and he wanted to be limited. He didn't have to be, but he chose to be. But with Jeramie, the more you push him, the harder you make it for him, the more he wants to do it, and the better he wants to be. And that's what's so exciting about the whole thing. So yeah, lockdown, no lockdown, nothing can stop us. Nothing. You know, Conrad can whine like a baby until the cows come home. Abaddon can spread all of his shit about it, or anybody else who's detracting from this band, but nobody's going to stop us. Full stop. And that's that, really.
Right. And tell me about album Ave. I speak with Jeff early about making of the album. It's for me, it is a great album, great reviews it has. But how was your feeling when you made that album? Arrangements, that old stuff. You know, it's really the old heavy metal sound. It's not polished, it's not clean. What was your intention with that album?
Just to be us, just to be as you know. I didn't even go back. You know, I've said this before, and again, people will get sick of fucking hearing this, but you know, the majority of the early Venom material, you know, especially the first two albums and a good bunch of the singles, was all written by me. There's a lot of stuff written before Conrad even joined the band. And even to that point, I didn't go back and revisit anything. I didn't go back and listen and think, well, I need a song like Countess Bathory, I need a song like Witch Now, I need a song like Black Metal. That's never going to happen, because those songs were written by a young, naive fucking guy who had no fucking experience. And sometimes that works. And sometimes it's nice to get back to that. But you can't. Those were moments captured in time. I mean, we walked into Neat Records one day to do demos. David Wood at Neat Records said, "Come here, boys. Have you got time to do an album? Have you got enough material to do an album?" And we went, yeah. 3 days. Get in the studio, that's it. And that was it. We had 3 days to do Welcome to Hell. Now, when it came to writing Ave, I just wrote and wrote and wrote and wrote and wrote. And like I say, the thing I spent the most time on was arrangement of songs, arrangements, choruses, things like that. Even to the point where one time, you know, I was writing so much stuff, I started to doubt myself. So me and Tony had a Skype conversation, and I was keep sending demos and stuff and saying, right, there's another one, there's another one, there's another one. There was in excess of 20 something songs, you know, and I've told this tale before. They were all in project pages, and there was a Venom INC 015. It was basically demo 15. And there was 3 songs that came out of that one project page that all made the album. And that was simply because I'm going into that project page and I'm looking for a riff to tie to this riff. I come up with a riff and I think, oh, it's a good riff, but it doesn't work with that. Push it to the end. And then at the end of finishing this song, I've got all this other stuff here. So it's like, okay, let's put this together, put that together. 3 songs came out of that one project page. But like I say, I just wrote as me, and me is old school. Me couldn't tell you a Bathory song from a fucking King Diamond song. I really fucking don't know. I do not follow the scene. I'm sorry to have to disappoint a lot of people by saying that, but I don't follow the scene. I never have done. The first time I seen a photograph of Quorthorne, I looked at this picture and I went, when the fuck did Conrad do that? And that was down at Neat Records. You know, it was a picture of Quorthorne in shorts, in some rocks and stuff like that. And it's fucking Conrad. I have never followed the scene. One of the reasons I didn't follow the scene, the people that came after us, this might sound a little bit egotistical or arrogant, but I never wanted to be a follower. At that point, we were leaders. And I thought to myself, rightly or wrongly, all this information that I'm going to get from these bands that are following us, that are picking up the Venom mantle and running away with it, I don't want any of it going in here. You know, my influences came from Sabbath, from Priest, from Kiss, from Motorhead. I've been doing a good few interviews recently, and I've been doing a lot more writing for the book. And I've discovered through doing that, the album Overkill had much more of an effect on me than I realized. Right now, Tony's the Motorhead fan in the band, right? Tony's the Lemmy freak. I like Motorhead. I appreciate Motorhead. I love Motorhead. Okay. But I would never say that they were my band. Yes, I had a t-shirt and I wore the thing on my back and all that. Yeah. They were a fucking great band. My Motorhead is the same as Tony's Motorhead. It's filthy, it's fast Eddie, and it's Lemmy. Okay. Venom used to do No Class. No Class has got things in it called double stops, right, on the guitar. Down, ba bam, ba bam, ba bam, ba bam. That's where all my fucking playing came from. At the end of the day, bam, 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 all that. Take it right up to fucking Ave, Forged in Hell. I could pick the guitar up now and play it for you. All double stops, all came from that one fucking album. When I discovered, oh, you can do that, and I don't have to play a full chord. Game on. Lazy guitarist, great for me. I can do all that. So all that kind of stuff stayed with me right way through, and it's never left me. I've never explored. Yeah, I know what they do in the black metal genre with all the fucking riffing and the chords and stuff like that. Doesn't appeal to me. Doesn't appeal to me in the slightest. You know, and like I say, there might be a lot of fans that say, well, fucking hell, essentially you're the founder of black metal and you're the god, but you don't like, it's not that I don't like it, I appreciate it, but it has evolved. And I've always said, without evolution comes extinction. So yes, I'm proud that Venom were the original black metal band. Are they black metal by today's standards? No. No, it's a different thing altogether. So that begs the question, who should have changed their fucking genre name? Right? And I'm not even fucking getting into that. But it's a statement to be made, you know? But are they, like I say, I Skyped Tony one day and I was like, oh, what? And he said to me, you're Mantas, you were Mantas, you'll always be Mantas, just write like fucking Mantas. Basically, shut the fucking up and get on with it. What you're doing is great. That's it. That's all you need to do. You need to be yourself. As soon as I try to start and be fucking Steve Vai or fucking Yngwie, I'll fail miserably. Even if I could play like Steve Vai, what's the fucking point? The world's already got a Steve Vai and he can do it perfectly well. Yeah. There's an Yngwie Malmsteen over there. I don't want to play like fucking Yngwie because Yngwie's doing it. You know? There'll never be another Eddie Van Halen. There'll be a million Eddie Van Halen clones, but there'll never be another Eddie. Nobody will play like him, have his feeling, his touch, or whatever.
And can I just interpose here by saying the world needed a Mantas and the world got a Mantas and the world needs a Mantas.
Why?
That's simple. It's as simple as that. You need a Gary Moore. You need a Gary Moore. You need a B.B. King. You need a Steve Vai. You needed an Eddie Van Halen. But the world needed a fucking Mantas, and that's what they got. Why change that? Why change that? So, you know, you're looking at purity. It's like you don't change that. You can spend the next 10 albums, as Conrad did, trying to sound like Welcome to Hell or black metal. You can do a million interviews slagging off everybody for trying to do songs they weren't recording or whatever else, and try and mimic your glory days. Or you can just be you and keep writing. And that's what Jeff does beautifully. And the result is Ave. The result is the new album, which even makes Ave sound dated, but it's still the same identity. It's one guy playing his way, and Jeramie doesn't try and sound like anybody else, and I don't try and sound like anybody else. You know, I just posted today on social media Dead of the Night from the tour we did with Danzig in when we ended in California, and I listened to it and thought, fucking hell, that's a B-side song, Dead of the Night. And I wasn't there. I didn't record it. I wasn't there when it was written. But when we play it, it's fucking 100% alive. The song feels alive. Why? Because we put ourselves into it. And that's the difference. You know, when Jeff plays his stuff his way, he's him. And that's what you can't escape, you know, and why people love. I mean, 1 million people have asked Jeff when we've been on tour, how do you get your sound? How do you do your thing? And his first thing will be, I got no idea, mate. I just go plug in different fucking guitars. They only found they were in C sharp by accident. So, they plug in and play. So I remember watching George Benson, an interview with George Benson, and the guy said, you know, you're so well known for your songs, but you know, you're a fucking great guitarist. When you solo, how do you do that? He went, I don't know, I just play. And that's Jeff. He just played. That was my whole thing with him. When he was like, do you think the songs are good enough? I went, just be you. You know, he wasn't considering if he was good when he wrote Live Like an Angel or Witching Hour or black metal. He wasn't questioning, am I doing well? He just took his influences, he played it his way, and that's what happened. And if you question it, if like he just said, if you question it, if you try and construct it, if you try and make it sound like something else, it won't. It never will. And it'll sound fake. But if you just be you and do whatever you do your way, it will be real. And that's what I love about him. And that's what I love about his style. And that's what the fans love about his style. Not just 100 fans or 50 fans, but millions of fucking fans. You know, Ave, the track, the lyric video has 250,000 and moving towards 500,000 hits because people love his sound. You know, that says everything you need to say.
But
have we finished that?
No. But when we mentioned that, I think that's the hard thing to do, to sound like yourself. Lots of bands through time make albums and they sound like 10 years later like shit, and people stop listening to them. Ave is album that everyone says that's the old sound. That's why I like the band. But I want to ask you about black metal. You said you were naive little guys, little boys who played music and loved music. But what can you tell me why all those bands and people are saying about Black Album that's groundbreaking, the cult album? What's you think the reason for that is? What has that album that people recognize at like beginning of genre and new stuff in music?
I think I have an answer. I think I might have an answer.
I'm going to go to the toilet, but did he say there were little boys with little puppies naked in a sandpit?
I think I have an answer that, I mean, it's just an attitude. The attitude is we don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
That comes through loud and clear. I mean, you listen to those first 3-4 records and you can hear that they don't give a fuck. You can hear when they started really giving a fuck. Primeval started giving a fuck and it started sounding like cleaned up. And I mean, personally, I love that record. I love Primeval. I think it's kind of like a pinnacle of where those three guys were at, Tony, Jeff, and Tony also. And but those first couple records were just fucking balls to the wall, fucking just throw it into the grinder and see where it comes out. You only have 3 days to make something come out of something. And those guys all were like, what? So whenever we get on stage and play, I mean, I can hear that as a fan of music. I can listen to those records and hear that as a fan of music. So when we go on stage and I had the opportunity to start playing with these fellas, it was like, okay, well, don't give a fuck. I mean, I remember being 15 and not giving a shit, or being angry and being pissed off. And the only way that anyone is going to buy what the fuck I'm selling is if I do that. And that's not being me. That's just hearing that, understanding that, and going, well, I mean, it's all fucking chaos. So I think that was a bit of like the allure I think that's, for me, that's where the genre of black metal really kind of took roots from. It was less about the musicality of it, less about the note choices. I mean, although you can hear you can hear the riffs in like Immortal, or you can hear the riffs in even Dimmu Borgir. You can hear some riffs that Jeff's played for sure. But I mean, I think overall it's like the vibe. The vibe was like, fuck you, it sounds nasty, fuck you, we don't need a Boston production. It was like, whatever, you know, and I think a lot of people were drawn to that because who wouldn't be? It's a real black sheep in the music industry. I mean, are you kidding me? Could you imagine Queen putting out an album that sounded sonically like black metal sounds or like Welcome to Hell? It would never happen. You would never get it. At that point, everything was so prim and proper and sculpted, which I think is fantastic, of course. I mean, I like those early, I mean, I like anything from the 70s, Aerosmith, Judas Priest, any of that stuff, all sounds great, but it's not shoestring budget and who gives a shit, which I think drew in a lot of people. That and that image of that damn goat on the first record, the image of the goat on the second record, I mean, that was like some striking stuff. I mean, at the time, everything was really not that. It was really not that at all. And it was completely against the grain, which for any young guy, it's like, oh yeah, what's that? You know, what's that little skeleton baby? Like, oh my God, like that's jarring, you know, Cannibal Corpse, you know, that's fucking jarring. You know, so that's my take on
No, I think underlining what Jeramie you just said is we just recently did a Bloodstock for Metal Allegiance Festival. It was an online thing. They wanted to do the festival. They couldn't do it for 2020 because of COVID. So like 15 festivals all across Europe, most of which we played before, got together and wanted to do an online thing. And we got the privilege of being asked by Bloodstock, would we contribute? Yeah, absolutely. So Jeramie's in Florida, in Tampa, and Jeff is in Tomar in Portugal, and I'm in London. So it's like, I said yes, and then thought, fuck, how do we work this out? So it was a case of we all went online, ordered green screen and lighting, and we fumbled our way through doing something and edited it, and we produced a full set, and we gave it to Bloodstock. And that was our thing, because lots of bands were doing it in rehearsal spaces, or they lived in the same country, so they were going to locations and filming it with lights and everything, and we couldn't do that. But so it was kind of ad hoc for us, and we were learning as we were going, but we did it because that is us. That's the punk spirit. That's like, fuck it, why not? Let's just do it. And one of my favorite things was, there's a festival organizer here in the UK, and he wrote, wow, fucking, it was cool to see Venom INC do their thing. He said, and someone said, yeah, but it was like, it must have been like green screen. It was a bit kind of here and there. And he went, it's fucking Venom INC. What do you expect? These guys just fucking play. And that, to me, said absolutely everything. We don't need any of your bullshit. Give us 5,000, 10,000, 100,000, 50 in a room. We'll do exactly the same thing as we intended to do when we went on stage. We'll drive straight across you. And there could be pyro going, there could be a backdrop, there could be fuck all, there could be, you know, we could be getting changed in a toilet, in a fucking camper van, in a fucking luxurious hotel. It doesn't make any difference. When we hit the stage, we hit it running and we're playing music. And that's, I think, for me personally, that's what I love about this band. I've always loved doing with Mantas, and I love having Jeramie there, because when we hit the stage, shit's falling apart. Shit is blowing up. I mean, Jeramie hits the kit like, I always thought Abaddon hit the kit hard until I saw Jeramie. It was like, what the fuck is he doing? You know, he'll break everything in the first song and fix it throughout the rest of the set. And it's like, you know, we have so many things, but regardless, we deliver. And that's the purity of what we are. And that's what I love so much about this band, you know. We will not stop. We will deliver you everything we've got. And when we come off stage, we left everything that was us as musicians on stage for you. And I just think that is the purest way of being a band, is like, we're here to do music. So, you know, we could be in a family crisis. I mean, fucking hell, the other night I had to do a comparison thing for a website, and they wanted to listen to Metal We Bleed from Bloodstock. And I was watching it and they were going, oh my God, I can't stop playing this on rotation. And I was watching it and the footage, and it was great. And there was a shot of Jeff where he was smiling and playing. And it struck me, and I said to the interviewer, I went, you know what just got me there? That guy had died 11 weeks before we were on stage. The same guy who's there pouring every bit of him on stage was actually clinically dead 11 weeks before we played that show. I mean, come on. How does it get better than that? It just doesn't. It doesn't for me. It doesn't. That's what music is all about. And this band is music for me. And that's what I love. And anyway, that's me finished.
Yeah.
There we are.
We now need just to make a small break and we coming back. So welcome back. I want to ask you about Newcastle. I speak with Hellbuster band early, and I have no idea about Newcastle scene and that Newcastle gave so much influence bands. Could you tell me when you started the band, the punk was on hype, that kind of attitude like we mentioned you had later. What was your role in that scene, and when you feel that you become a bigger band?
Oh God! I mean, well, for me personally, I mean, Newcastle, late 70s, early 80s, there was a great scene up there. I mean, Newcastle City Hall was basically kept alive by the rock and metal bands that came to visit. Virtually every weekend, you could go to Newcastle City Hall and see a rock or a metal band. And then we had really famous, prestigious club called the Mayfair Rock Club, where, I mean, everybody played there. AC/DC played there, fucking Priest. I seen Judas Priest with the original lineup of Iron Maiden supporting them at the Mayfair Rock Club. I seen AC/DC with Bon Scott at the Mayfair. My first band that I seen was probably 78, and that was Newcastle City Hall, and that was Blue Oyster Cult. From there, I mean, I seen Rory Gallagher at the Newcastle City Hall. All the early, I mean, Rush Hemispheres tour, like every incarnation of Kiss that came there. God, it's such a great scene. And then, you know, when this whole new wave of British heavy metal thing came around, I mean, everybody in Newcastle at that point who had long hair and a denim jacket was in a fucking band. You know, everybody was. I mean, there was the Tigers, Fist, Raven, you know, Blitzkrieg, Satan. Fucking, there was just tons and tons of bands around. And basically, they all fucking hated Venom. And, you know, the strange thing was that years and years later, I was probably, what was it, Tony, 2012, 13, that Empire played Muscle Rock.
Yes,
and
yes.
And Raven were there as well. And I remember being down in the hotel foyer, and I was talking to Mark. And that was actually the first real conversation I'd ever had with Mark Gallagher. And we were talking about this fucking stupid rivalry that was going on between us at Neat Records. And we were both going, what the fuck was all that about? Like, you know? And anyway, it was like, we don't know. And, but what Mark said to me was that all the other bands on Neat Records were looking at Venom and going, how? Why? Why? You know, we were going away and playing Espace Ballade and fucking Hemmerline Holler and the Vaux House and fucking, you know, Theatre Tender and Hammersmith Odeon. And then Raven and Fist and Tigers are all in the back of a van playing the local toilet and then another toilet over there. And, you know, and they were all wondering, and, you know, looking back on it, I've got to wonder why as well, because every band that was down there at Neat Records were technically more proficient than us. They were a harder working band, but they didn't have whatever it was we had that the people wanted at that point.
They gave too much of a shit. They
Yeah,
gave too much shit.
And that was it. I've already said that any one of those bands could have picked up a guitar and played a Venom song, right? But it would never have sounded like us anyway. It's the same as me. I can pick my guitar up and I can play all the riffs from fucking Painkiller. I'm still not going to sound like fucking Glenn Tipton. You know, it's not going to have the same fucking feeling. But the scene in Newcastle at that point, I can remember when Venom played a place called, no, it was, where was it? It was for the Meth in Wallsend, the Methodist Church Hall, which basically was on Station Road, and Station Road went all the way down. And then if you hung a left at the bottom of there and you went along, that's where Neat Records was. Now on Station Road, this Methodist Church Hall, it had essentially what was a youth club on a Friday and Saturday night, but it sort of turned into a bit of a rock night. So we decided to play there, and we played there after playing our rehearsal place, which was another church hall at the top of Westgate Road. And I can remember we were still a four-piece, and myself and Clive Archer, the original singer, we went to the Handyside Arcade early one Saturday morning and plastered the place with Venom posters all over the place to say that we were playing this little gig, you know. Now, where we went, the Handyside Arcade was like a horseshoe effect on a street called Percy Street. There was a biker bar along there called the Percy Arms. The Handyside Arcade had two entrances, and in there was a place called the Card Bar. And that's where all the rock and metal kids went every Saturday afternoon. That place was rammed full of rock and metal kids. It was the hangout for everybody. Great place. And like I say, I don't think there was a scene anywhere like what Newcastle City Centre had for rock and metal kids at that point in the early 80s. It was great. It was really good. And I mean, it was excellent because at that point as well, there was no fucking genres, you know. So you go up there with your denim jacket on with Kiss, Zeppelin, Rush, Motorhead, Priest, fucking all over the place, you know, and nobody gave a shit. The one thing I do remember was in Newcastle particularly, you were either in the Priest camp or the Sabbath camp, you know, and both camps appreciated the other camp, but they were loyal to theirs. And I was always a Priest man, you know. It's like, but the scene in Newcastle, I mean, every Friday and Saturday night, I was out seeing a band. Every Friday and Saturday night. And if there wasn't a band on, you were at the Mayfair Rock Club and you were on that fucking dance floor, banging your fucking head. Listen to the Empire song, Snake Pit. That's what it's all about. It's fucking, you know, it was, and now it's a cinema and apartments and fucking, you know, it's that place. I think it's just received a blue plaque, you know, it's like fucking, it's a historical fucking mosquito. Got you, you bastard. It's a fucking historical place, you know. I mean, Zeppelin played there. It's like, you know what I discovered as I'm writing this book? I was born in April 61. The Mayfair opened its doors in September 61.
No way.
Fucking hell. Get in, you know.
But now, 1861 was a long time ago.
Great scene. Huh?
1861 was a long time ago.
It was a long time ago, right?
We had horses and all that shit back then.
No, we had fucking gas lamps and all that kind of thing. But no, it was a fucking great scene. And I think it's, you know, for me, it's days that we'll never see again like that. You know, especially on a city level like Newcastle. I mean, in between the two entrances to the Handyside Arcade, there was a music store, a family music store called Jevons. And that's where my mum financed my very first electric guitar. We went there, and I remember this guitar. Christ, when did I get that? It must have been 77, 78. And that was a cherry red single humbucker copy SG. And it cost about £30. And we still had to finance it. We still had to pay on finance, you know? And then I remember getting from the same store, and like I say, this is in between where the Handyside Arcade is. So there's a lot of interlinked things in Venom's past. But I went there, I got a little Fender twin reverb amp, about 10 watts. And then I got the thing that changed everything for me, which was a CSL Super Fuzz pedal. Fucking distortion. Oh, yeah. And that pedal appears on Welcome to Hell and Black Metal. I remember my dad, when we went, you remember Paul Garvey music?
Yeah,
fucking Paul Garvey music. But I wanted to get. There was an amp. There was a combo amp that I wanted to get. I think it was a Falcon or something. It was called.
Oh my God!
Anyway, the finance report came back, and Paul Garvey rang my dad and says, "Well, you got a good credit rating, like, you know, you could get a Marshall head and a cab." And I was like, "Fucking game on!" JCM 800 with a cab and me fuzz pedal. Fucking great. But no, Newcastle scene. We used to go to Mingles, which was a nightclub in Whitley.
Oh, Mingles.
We used to go to Mingles every Wednesday night because the Tigers had a residency.
Yes, they did. That's right.
The Tigers used to play every Wednesday night, you know. So wherever you went in Newcastle, all the surrounding areas, there was always a rock or a metal band playing in a bar, a club, or somewhere. I used to go, there was a sort of upmarket area of Newcastle called Gosforth, right? It was quite a posh area. But there was a pub along there. I can't even remember. I remember it was on a corner. And the guy that I actually started Venom with, Dave Rutherford. And then I used to go with another friend. It
wasn't the Arms. Was it not the Gosforth Arms?
It might have been the Arms, because Gosforth Park is the hotel.
Yes. I'm sure it was
the Arms.
Yeah.
Because I used to go upstairs and the bands played upstairs. Yeah.
Yes.
Every time we found out there was we didn't even know which bus to get there. We used to walk into Gosforth. Fucking go in there, underage as well, you know.
Nobody ever worried about age. We just went to gigs.
No,
I remember asked how old we were.
No, I'll tell you what we did as well. You know, the Mayfair Rock Club, right? This is how poor Venom was. I can't remember the band, but it was a big band, and it was sold out, and we couldn't afford tickets. So somebody at Neat Records had a ticket for this band, right? So we took the ticket, we photocopied the fucking ticket, and we pinpricked it for the fucking tear-off bit.
Yes.
Went to the Mayfair on the Saturday night with our photocopied tickets, went downstairs, and we're all standing there like, oh, fucking hell, are we going to get in? Are we going to get in? Rip, in you gone, son. But like I say, the Newcastle rock scene was fucking great. And I mean, the record stores, HMV, Virgin, fucking whatever else was there. That was your Saturday afternoon, you know?
What was the one by the City Hall? The one by the City Hall? The Venom, Dave did a thing, so they took all the neat stuff, but I remember the first Welcome to Hell and everything all went straight there first. What was it? Wow, what the fuck was it called?
Wasn't Volume Records, was it?
Volume, yes.
I'll tell you why I know, because years later when I started the gym with Richard's had a mate called Andy. And we were at his engagement party, and this guy came over and he went, "Hello, I'm Andy." I went, "Oh, hello, mate, I've heard all about you." And he looked at us and he went, "Oh," he says, "you must be worth a fortune." I went, "Excuse me?" He went, "Venom?" And I went, "No, mate." I says, "Ripped off, fucking ripped off." He went, "Fucking hell." He says, "I used to own Volume Records beside the City Hall." I went, "No fucking way." And he said to me, he says, "I could not keep up with the amount of fucking Venom vinyl I was selling through mail order, through fucking everything, because there was no internet. It was just mail order, you know, fucking stamp on it, buff." He says, "We couldn't keep up with it." He says, "You were selling shed loads of shit." Because even before that, I remember me and Alan Black getting the early morning, I think it was like the first bus at 6 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday morning, got the bus into town and stood outside Volume Records waiting for it to open because they had the Kiss magazines with the Kiss blood in, with the ink.
Right, yes. Oh, fucking hell.
Fucking hell, man. But like I say, that was Newcastle back then. Yeah. Everything was... Virtually everything was geared towards rock and metal, and even on Eldon Green there would be bands playing, and
they had the festival just everywhere.
It was everywhere. It was great.
Newcastle was known for the smell of patchouli oil, which gravitated.
Oh, you're talking about that? Yeah, fucking hell.
But
I tell you what.
when I
There
read
you
my
go.
fucking
There you go. Is
When
it
I-
smell
my
of it?
studio
Oh my
smell.
God. It even says patchouli. Let's all smell it. Open
Yeah,
the bottle.
let's just smell.
Let's have a
Oh,
smell.
it's good stuff. That is.
That's nice.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh,
That's
love it.
Newcastle.
But when I read about British music, everyone mention London, of course, Manchester, Bristol, but nowhere Newcastle to mention, even Birmingham. But no, that's why I didn't know even Sting is from Newcastle, Police.
Yeah, of course. Sting is from Newcastle. Fucking, you've got Dire Straits from Newcastle. You know, you've got David Coverdale, who was like south of Newcastle, but fucking, you know, he's a Japanese Geordie, but you know, he's still from up here.
Yes,
So-
but even Animals and Chaz Chandler, who was the bass player of Animals, he was the one who brought Hendrix to the UK. He was the manager of Hendrix.
Right.
And Chaz, you know, which I knew. But the thing is, I think Newcastle is the most it's a distant city, because every city in the UK is within an hour of each other. And Newcastle is it's up on the borders between Scotland and England, and it's its own city. So it had to actually, it had its own industry, which was coal and shipbuilding, and it had its own it had its own characteristics, which were not like the rest of of England or the rest of Scotland.
Yeah.
So we kind of had to rely on ourselves. So the scene that we had in Newcastle was completely our own. It wasn't like Birmingham or Sheffield or any of those. So you had Def Leppard, you had Black Sabbath, and you had the South. You had, you know, the educated art school boys with the Rolling Stones and Led Zeppelin. You know, had the Liverpool scene, which came out of there, of course. Manchester, the same thing. But Newcastle was specific to itself. And I think given everything that went, you could only have a Venom coming out of Newcastle. You could only have a Venom coming out of Newcastle, because we had no hope. We had only ourselves to rely on, and that meant that, you know, one of the greatest punk bands. Of course, there's the Sex Pistols, Art School Education, Kings Road, all of that sort of bullshit. But one of the greatest bands that I loved from that era was the Angelic Upstarts, who came from that area. You know, and they were everything about the identity of the area. And I think we felt alone, we felt isolated. You know, we didn't get the press. Venom were ostracized by the press and the industry for being just like too far out there, and that's because we didn't live in London, and we didn't live in all of the other cities which were close to each other, and we didn't go drinking in the pubs with those journalists and those other musicians, and we didn't play into the scene. We basically did what we all did in the Newcastle, and we were like, this is who we are, fuck you if you don't like us. And that's what the people around the rest of the world wanted to be part of, because also people and fans coming from working class environments where they had no money, they had to struggle for everything that they got. And that breeds, it breeds that kind of creativity, artwork, music. You know, you want to stand up and shout for what you want. And so, you know, in Newcastle also, it's a very Catholic society. Roman Catholic is the predominant. So what better to stick the finger to the man and stand up and go, your God sucks my cock. Your Jesus will will bend over while I fuck him up the arse. That's how much I give a fuck about your religion. And that made everybody go, oh my God, you can't say that. And what Venom didn't realize is that for them it was tongue in cheek, and we were kind of saying to our environment, fuck you. But the rest of the world were like, oh my God, how far can you go? That's too far. You know, when you had Sabbath and Black Widow and those kind of bands, you know, teetering on the outskirts of being salacious about deities and about religion. You had Venom going, fuck you, fuck your virgin, fuck your God, fuck Jesus Christ. And all of a sudden people were like shitting themselves. But I think it was more for us, it was more anarchistic against our society where we were. But for the rest of the world, it just changed the ground. You know, the earthquake had begun. And then, you know, while, as you can say, the black metal from Venom, which was their style, became a genre which is seems to be unrelated musically, probably more in line with Cawthorne and Bathory, which it is. But what Venom did was they told those kids who created the black metal as a scene, you can be proud of where you're from, you can be proud of your heritage, and you don't have to listen to somebody else who's telling you that's bad and this is good. So they rather than, you know, the church burnings and all that bullshit where they go, well, it was all about the satanic and it was all about that. It's like, no, it wasn't. It was about them going, hang on, we have our own mythology, our Scandinavian mythology. We're proud of our history. We're proud of Odin. We're proud of Thor. We're proud of our folklore. And we don't need you coming from Israel with your Christianity to tell us that what we love is wrong and that we should be bleeding into your fucking society. So we don't want it. So that's why they were burning the churches. It wasn't anything to do with satanic masses. It was to say, why don't you fuck off with your wooden churches, take them back to Israel, love your religion and leave us alone and we'll be pagan, because that's what we embrace, you know. The Vikings didn't worry about, you know, you being a Christian when they fucking cut you up and took your purse. They just were like, I don't give a fuck what you like or don't like. I just want your money. And that's what those kids were embracing, their folklore, their history. And I think in Newcastle, it was very like that. We didn't, and we don't. Geordies don't care what anybody else thinks. We only care who we are. And we're proud of who we are from where we're from. And I think that was a very big part of the scene up there and of the bands and of Venom in particular. So,
yeah. And as you band, you go through that wave of punk. You stay with your sound. You go on through 90s and Nirvana things and Metallica and Big Four. Every of that bands become big and commercially success, but you stay true, you stay aside. And a lot of bands says that you were the influence, but you never cash that out.
I think for
in way they do it.
I think in a personal way, I'll just go first because I know Jeff will have something to say too. But I just think for Venom, there was a lot of political misgivings. The label was shocked and didn't know how to respond to it. So they took money and they didn't know how to promote it properly, Neat Records. And so they made a lot of money, but he didn't know how to capitalize on it. Music Foundations, the owner for Music Foundations, who broke Metallica for the rest of the world after John Zazula and Megaforce did for America. He always said to Venom that if he could have got them at the right time, he could have made them the same kind of band. And I think that Neat Records couldn't capitalize on the Venom management, became corrupt and stole so much money, and it became such a political thing that they spunked the opportunity, they blew it. I think the band could have done some amazing stuff had they had the right management and everything coordinated like a Metallica, but they just didn't. So I think that given, you have to concede that, okay, what do we do now? Do we just stop and leave it? Or do we just be ourselves and continue? And that's what they did. They be themselves and continue. Kronos will never be in Metallica thing, but will always be a legend and influential, as with Abaddon, as will Mantas. But I think that we realize the potential of what we do. So we try and not capitalize on it, but we try and be as real as we can. And, you know, we played the show in California, and one of the guests who came was James Hetfield, and he headbanged throughout the whole show. And at the end of the show, he came and said, happy birthday to me. It was my birthday. And he was going, man, that was so great. And like he said to Jeff, you know, Venom, and Jeff goes, well, it's an explosion. And James Hetfield said to Jeff himself, standing there in 2000 and whatever it was, but great fucking songs. And that's what it comes down to at the end. So people will acknowledge the influence of Venom, and they didn't capitalize on the industry, but you know, that was about organization and about focusing on the business side of it. And, you know, regardless of any other member in the band or anything else, or even myself, it's Jeff doesn't like business, can't be fucked with all that. He just wants to play the guitar and write songs. And, you know, sometimes you have to concede that that's all you have to do. And the fans, you know, they if you have a house in Malibu or you live in a shed in fucking Glasgow, they're not really interested as long as the music is as great as you can make it. And so that's what it comes down to. That's my bit. On to you, Jeff.
No, I think that's about it. I mean, you know, we sort of, you know, every forest fire starts with a spark. Every door that's got a million locks has got a million keys to open it. And any form of life begins with a microscopic action. And that's what we were. That was Venom. We lit the fire and said, you know what, everybody else, it's okay to fucking take a bit of that flame and set a fire off over there and burn that down over there and do this over here. And there's a key to open that fucking door. If you can't open the door, do what we did, kick the fucker down. And that's what we did. But we definitely needed, at some point in our career, definitely after black metal. After black metal was the first thoughts that I ever had of leaving that band. And that was because of the personality change in members. And I mean, we needed a strong management to take us by the scruff of the neck and say, right, you, and you, shut the fuck up, sit the fuck down, this is what's happening. And by the way, you're shit, so get your fucking act together. And we just didn't have that. We didn't have that kind of person who would give us that feedback. You know, I think we were probably surrounded too much by yes men, if you like, you know, but we needed someone to say, this is the plan, you know. I mean, Eric, our manager, he tried as much as he could, but you know, I still maintain that he was heavily influenced by outside forces, outside inner forces, let's put it that way. And I just think there was a lot of wrong decisions made. And the thing is, myself and that very same manager, Eric, we sat down in his office years and years later, probably 2003, 4, something like that. And we spoke for hours. And I learned a lot of what had went on. And he confirmed a lot of what I thought had went on. And we just laid a lot of stuff out in the open, you know. And yes, sometimes you think, fucking hell, where would it have went? But I tell you what, I also think, where would it have went if Clive Archer was still in the band? Because I tell you what, his vocal style wasn't that far away from what fucking Conrad was doing. Conrad was just doing the same fucking thing. And, you know, now that you've got that box set to listen to, you listen to the Church Hall tape and you can hear Clive on there, you can hear him on the early demos. So basically, Conrad just took what Clive was doing and ran with it. And yes, I mean, it would be nice to be in the position of a Metallica, because as we were talking just before, you know, when it comes to something like this, like a pandemic, which is happening worldwide right now, you know, the music industry is essentially collapsing around us as we fucking speak. You know, there's a lot of fucking people going down, going under, this, that, and the other. But, you know, we had a conversation just before we came on air here, and I've said, you know, with no disrespect to the other bands that I could mention, but the people who can ride this storm are the ones who have already made it. You know, they're in a good position, because at the end of the day, and again, I'm just speaking honestly, and they would say the same thing if they had anything honest about them. At the end of the day, if they never did another show or sold another T-shirt, financially, they're secure. You know, we've been in this industry 40 years as well, but we didn't get the same. So not the same opportunity. I wouldn't say the same opportunities, because we did have those opportunities. You know, come on, we were the band that took fucking Metallica and Slayer out as support acts, you know? So we should have been the ones with the management who were fucking going, there you go, there's another sack full of cash. There's another sack full of cash, you know?
Yeah.
But at the same time saying, but don't forget, you've got to fucking work for it. You know, I think a lot of the time with Venom as well, back in those early days, it just seemed to be the norm for us. I wouldn't say that I took it for granted, because I did walk into some venues in those early days and go, who the fuck's playing here? It was so fucking big. I remember walking into a Spas Ballade, and the guy who walked in beside me was David Wood from Neat Records, and we both looked at Spas Ballade in Paris and went, fucking hell. And that place was sold out on the night time. It was colossal. The next show we were scheduled to do after that, the following year, was the Zenith, which is even fucking bigger. Jeff Barton seen us at Hammersmith Odeon, and he says, I fully expect to see them at Wembley next year. Why not?
Yeah.
Because we weren't handled right. And I think, you know, the success did affect certain individuals in the band in a very, very negative way, where other members of the band just didn't want to be around them, you know. And then, you know, things happening, and like my decision to leave, and when I eventually left in '86, my decision was made in '85 after a horrific incident in Germany. My decision to leave that band and to go, I've had enough, was nothing to do with finance. It was nothing to do with musical differences or any of that bullshit. It was purely based on the personalities within the band.
Yeah.
Now, that's where we should have had somebody to say, you're going to blow it. Yeah. Because essentially, Venom, that fucking original lineup of Venom, you know, and again, this has all come about from, you know, I'm heavily into writing the book at the minute and doing a lot of thinking about this. And we essentially had the world at our feet, and we fucking blew it. It was as simple as that. And we blew it by, you know, I think just thinking that we were already there. We weren't. I tell you what I've discovered in this life, it's easy to get there, right? It's not so bad to get there. To stay there is a fucking pain in the ass. That is a big problem, right? How many bands have went, we're huge, gone next day.
Yeah.
The Darkness did it. Fucking hell.
I think the arrogance, I think one of the beautiful things that was commended about Venom, the original lineup, and how they were, was their arrogance to go, we're from Newcastle and fuck you, we don't care. We'll do what we want to do. Brilliant, brilliant. But it couldn't be capitalized on, because once the arrogance then meant that a John Zazula wasn't significant, that a Martin, that a Music for Nations or a Universal weren't significant. We don't need a fucking major, because we're already, it's like, those were the mistakes. Those were the mistakes. When you piss on your own shoes, it's cool time, but at the end you go, oh fuck, I pissed on my own boots, and those boots walked out the door and they're not coming back. It's like, wow. So, you know, with the management of Venom, you know, Eric did an amazing job, considering he had no experience. And what
he had none. I mean, he came in to basically, I remember when he first came along with the band, and that was, he went to Belgium with our first international show, and he just went there to carry stuff and to help the fucking set up. And it was only after he sort, I can't remember what happened, but he sort of, Dave Woods was just sitting at some fucking restaurant. Me and Conrad walked up literally holding each other because we hadn't slept for 48 hours and we were starving. We had slept on my guitar case the night before. Dave Woods is sitting there with coffee and croissants and all this. And we went, Dave, can we have a bit of, oh, I don't think you're better. They might not like it. Can you move along? We were like a couple of vagrants getting moved on. But Eric sorted some stuff out for us and we had some food and whatnot. And then when we got back, it was like, fucking hell. You know, we need somebody like that, you know. You look good in a suit. It's like, so you're the manager. That was it. You know, he wasn't a fucking manager. But I tell you what, for all the misgivings of that, and I still blame you know who.
Yeah.
But because I think he made the fucking bullets and Eric unfortunately pulled the trigger, right?
Yeah.
That's my opinion, and it'll never change. But for all the fucking misgivings, when it all went tits up for them two, and when it came back, who then owned a fucking studio, regardless of what anybody thinks of it, and then was managing Andy fucking Taylor from Duran Duran, while the other motherfucker was climbing up scaffolding.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So where was the wherewithal? Where was the fucking brain cells? But it still wasn't enough. It wasn't enough. It should have been a Peter Mensch who went, Conrad, fucking sit down, you daft shit. You know?
Totally.
It's like, I'm ranting now anyway.
I think that's it. It's where the arrogance proceeded, where somebody needed to come in and go, you know, you can keep the attitude. I love it. However, I'm going to manipulate it and use it properly, you know, and that would have been it. That would have been it. There was the magic ingredient that was lost. That was just lost, and it was lost accidentally. You know, it wasn't anybody's fault. It just got lost accidentally. You know, and that's how it went.
Yeah, I remember the remit when we played Hammersmith Odeon in 1984, right? And I remember going down before we played Hammersmith. I remember going down to London with Eric to have a look at the Odeon to see if it was good enough for us to play. What cool fucking, and you talk about arrogance, fucking hell. So I had a look around Hammersmith Odeon and said, yeah, I'll do. Yeah, we'll play here. Quickly ran home and nailed together our fucking ramps and painted everything ourselves and made everything ourselves. And then when we got down there, I remember before we went on stage, you know, it was a big deal and everything was getting videoed. It was fucking practically, it wasn't fully sold out, but it was fucking rammed. And it was the first big British show. And I remember Eric saying, anything goes wrong, smash the fucking lot and run.
Yeah.
That was it, you know?
Great. Just do something, whatever you need to do. Yeah.
I know, but fucking hell. But yeah, I mean, sometimes you do think to yourself, you know, especially when you see Metallica at these award ceremonies and you see them playing these huge places and all stuff like that. And hey, you know, people might think, oh, you're a bitter motherfucker. No, I'm not bitter. I'm not bitter in the slightest. I'm happy with my lot, you know. Yes, I would love $1 million in the bank, blah, blah, blah. Fucking great. And then you don't have to worry about it.
But anyway, you have great career, legendary career.
Hey, well, that's it. That's it. You know, it's like, you know, you can't complain about what you've done. There are things that you think, oh, we should have done that differently, or we should have done that differently. But at the end of the day, it's brought us to where we are today.
Yeah.
And what I always say is, without that, you wouldn't be interested in talking to us.
Can I just say as an example, just a brief example? I know we're talking a lot over you, but just as a brief example, I'm just finishing up a project now, and today Marty Friedman dropped a solo. I have Snowy Shaw, I have Mantas, of course. I have Steve Sylvester from Death SS. I have Juan Garcia from Body Count. I just got Terence Hobb dropped a solo from Suffocation. A whole list of artists, amazing. James Murphy's on there. You know, it's an amazing project, which will be out hopefully. That I don't kind of understand. You know, if someone gives you an opportunity, then surely that's an amazing thing. And one artist just recently said to me, who's a young guitarist, went, I'm going to leave it for now. So, but maybe we can work together in the future. But if you can give another artist an opportunity, then why don't you do that? And the other artist I had lined up was Marty Friedman. So I was like, okay, I'll give another artist an opportunity, like as if he needs it, you know. But I think it's not it. I think these days, I think, you know, I find that Mantas with his legacy, with his what he's done, you know, outside of myself, or Jeramie, who's done some amazing stuff throughout his career and is continuing, is that they're humble people. And the best artists I've found, you James Hetfield, you know, Marty, of course, and a whole bunch of them are so humble when they've been so integral. You know, Terry Butler, who has done the most amazing stuff. You know, Johnny, who worked with Pete Green and did the typo negative stuff. And even Peter Green, who I used to be friends with and talk to him all the time, who from Carnivore through typo negative, were never, Cawthorne, you know, Bathory, he was never anything but just a normal guy and humble. And when we talked, it was like me and you talking. And those are the real artists. Those are the real people, you know, when you talk to them. Billy Sheen and, you know, Steve Vai, who Jeff mentioned before, just humble people. Gary Moore was the same, just a normal, humble guy who was a musician, like Dave Gilmour and etc. You know, it's the people who want to be a superstar and forget that it starts with the music. You know, that's where it changes. You know,
and you witnessed the history and changing in the rock and roll in music. What you think about today's lyrics, topics of the rock and roll bands and what rock and roll gives to the world? Does the same themes piss you off as you were younger, 20 or 30 years?
I think they're different. I think they're different. When you're 16, 17 or whatever it is, you know, you hate your parents, you hate your religion, you hate your boss, you hate your school. So you hate society and you scream. And I think the scream doesn't change in its velocity. You still have the same loudness in your scream, but what you're screaming about changes. You know, in Poland right now, they've just had a movement about abortion and women's rights. So, you know, that's kind of important. You know, if you're a boyfriend and girlfriend and you end up she ends up being pregnant and you want her to have the baby and she doesn't want to have the baby, then you have a debate. But if you're raped and it's against your will, then now the new rule means you have to have the baby or it's against the law. Well, maybe she didn't want to be raped. Maybe she didn't want to be with that guy, and maybe she didn't want to have a baby with that guy. So is that right or wrong? If you're in Saudi Arabia and you're raped by men, multi-men, 3 or 4 of them, you have to have the baby or you're stoned to death because you were raped. So it's your fault you were raped. I mean, you know, we're in a world that's like, what the fuck is going on? From Donald Trump to Brexit to China to coronavirus. It's like, what the Bolsonaro to Boris Johnson. It's like, I think I'm in a cartoon universe. But, you know, so you never stop screaming about things. You just change what you're screaming about. And I think it's as important today I don't think band and music should be political. I really don't, because it's like going to see a movie. You know, yes, there's an underlying theme in a superhero movie, but I want to be escaping. I want to escape the shit. I don't want to think about my bills and my problems at home and my problems with government and how I get my food. I just want to go to a movie and be on another planet like Mandalorian and pretend I'm something else, a cowboy, a spaceman, or whatever. So it's part of our escapism. And I think music speaks to your soul. You know, it speaks to times where you need it, where you feel like you could die, when you've got cancer, when you've broke up your marriage, when you've lost a child, when, you know, music, it speaks to our soul. It makes us cry. It makes us laugh. It makes us smile. It makes us feel angry. But that's what's so beautiful about music. You can listen to Mendelssohn or Napalm Death, depending on how you feel. That's the beauty of it, you know. And you can like Iron Maiden with Paul Di'Anno. You can hate it with Bruce Dickinson, or you can love it with Dio and hate it with Ozzy. You can love it with Ozzy and hate it with Dio. But, you know, it just speaks to your soul. Music is part of the rhythmic thing in our life. You know, everything has rhythm, from your fridge humming to your kettle blowing to an airplane moving to a train running. It's part of us. So, you know, using rhythm speaks to our soul, and so it's in tune with us. So I don't think your anger about your environment changes. I think as you age, it just refines itself so that you just don't go, I fucking hate my parents. You actually, by the time you're 40 or 50, you go, Well, I don't hate my parents, but I do fucking hate the system that makes them work the way they do. So they suffered and died and can't feed the rest of us. So you refine what you dislike, but you still dislike, and you can express yourself. But I do worry sometimes that music is too political when it should be your escapism. It should speak to your soul. So, you know, when I listen to Mayhem or something like that, you know, I love the orchestration of the whole thing, and it makes me feel good, you know. But the same as if I listen to the Sex Pistols, you know, even though Anarchy in the UK meant something different to me when they first put it out, because I wanted to be an anarchist. I wanted to hate the system, or God Save the Queen. But now I listen to it, it just makes me remember those times and how much fun I was having as a youth, you know. So I think music is like a calendar of our lives, you know, where you first hear a song and a band, it travels with you through time. I think one of the key points about our band now, and Venom INC in particular, is that I want people to feel old school, feel that embrace. So the kids now listening to, you know, what's concurrent, what's new metal, what's new black metal, whatever it is, can listen back and think, if they come and see us and think, well, they're old school, but I really like what they're doing, there's an energy there, perfect, that's perfect. And for old school members who come to see us, I want them to feel 16 again. So if they're 55, I want them to cry like they're a 17-year-old. So I want to touch their soul. Music's about just connecting with people, and I want to connect with a 50, 60-year-old and also with a 15-year-old. And that's the beauty of the whole thing. That's what we try and do, is be as real as we can be and reach out with our music so it connects to someone. So the politics and, you know, whether we're multimillionaires, whether we have a house in Malibu, whether we're driving Lamborghinis or not, is not important. When you're in a club, you're on stage, the lights are out, and you're just coming together with the music. It should be just that. It should be just an experience, and that's what music should be, just an experience.
Right. And for the end, what we could expect? New album, book?
Well, Mantas is writing his book, but to be fair, he's been writing it for 120 years. So if it ever comes out, I hope it has pictures. No, he's writing his book, which will be his journey through Venom, through the whole history of the whole thing. And we're working on the new album. The idea is the end of last year, we played Wacken Festival, and then I was going to have a hip operation for a new hip, which was giving me a lot of problems for 20 years. And then during that recovery time, we would write the new album and record the new album. And at the beginning of 2020, it would go out and we'd tour it. But of course, COVID-19 and the whole Batman fucking thing hit, and China. And so here we are, we're stuck down. But what we've done is we've managed to record the whole album. All that's left now is some vocals. Then Mantas will master and mix and produce, and then it's ready to go. But with Nuclear Blast, we have to deliver 3 months before release, because we have online promotion and stuff, and they have to organize all of that. So we just took our time, because I thought, well, I don't want to rush the album just to have some new music out, because we can't promote it. We can't play live shows while we're locked down. So it's been ongoing. So we'll probably deliver in the next month or so, and then it will be out round about March 2021. So a year later than we ideally wanted it to be, but it will be better than it would have been if we'd been pressured, and we haven't been pressured. So yeah, we'll finish it off. It'll be the best it can possibly be. I mean, it sounds fucking amazing to me. I've got to say, it's hands down better than RV, and I love RV. So I think it's an even better album. Having Jeramie's drums on there, a real drummer playing on the real album, is like totally different, because that's not what we had in RV. Jeff did an amazing job with Calais, who was our engineer. But this is like something else. It's on another level. It's typically what we are, you know, and so exciting. So once I can actually get the vocal finished, then that's it. It's just over to Jeff for mixing and mastering, and it'll be out. But I think, yeah, January, February, March. So if we can deliver at the end of this year, we'll have it out for March. And hopefully that's when we'll be greenlit so we can tour it. So I you know, with the whole pragmatic and practical side of traveling has been, yes, you can go, no, you can't go. Yes, you have to quarantine, no, you can't even move. Now you're locked down, now you're not locked down. It's like, fuck's sake. So it's been a problem, but it has meant that we haven't had to rush anything. We could consider what we've done. We can re-listen to stuff. So it can be the best we could possibly make it. And yeah, logistically, I guess early 2021, and then we'll be able to tour again, hopefully with vaccines and all of that kind of stuff. So that's what we're looking at. But yeah, very sexy, very cool, very lush, and all of that great stuff. I know.
Thank you very much for this interview. Hope to see you soon and to hear your new album.
No problem.
Yes, I'll say good night first. From me, it's good night from him. It's good night from him. I love them both. I love you. Thank you so much for the opportunity. Thank you, fans. Keep listening. Go find our Spotify. Go find our pages, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. We love you very much. Thank you very much. We'll see you soon. That's a goodbye from me, the Demolition Man. Over to Mr. Kling.
Goodbye. Thank you.
Bye. See you later.